All in Sports Network. We love sports.
News around the NFL. Could it affect the Chiefs? Plus, we've got the latest injury updates on Kansas City heading into their matchup against Denver. And speaking of that matchup against the Broncos, we've talked so much about it, but ultimately, is this a must win game for the Kansas City Chiefs? We discuss all of that here today in the Chiefs Report. I'm JC Andrews. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you might be. And we're happy you make us our first listen or your first listen of the day talking about the Chiefs Report here on the Rogue Sports Media Network. Lots of things happening over the past couple of days, want to discuss, want to get to, but the first and most important is NFL news across the land that could affect the Chiefs. So, in case you missed it, the Giants fired their head coach, Brian Daboll, after what was a frustrating season, let's say. They've had a multitude of leads that they have not been able to hold on to, one of which against the Denver Broncos, which, of course, as a Chiefs fan, would love to see that be a lead that was held on to for so many different reasons, but ultimately can't hold on to it. And, for Brian Daboll's sake and looking at it from a unbiased standpoint, which, that's honestly what we are. I don't really care that much about the Giants. I don't know that Brian Daboll was ever the right decision for New York. I think that the bigger problem with their organization lies at the upper tier with Joe Sheen, their general manager. I mean, you think about the quarterbacks they've had come in, you think about the teams they've had come in. I mean, it seems as though this is just a mismanagement of an organization rather than the players they have. Jackson Dart looks fine, but ultimately, if you watched him at Ole Miss, he's going to be the same Jackson Dart. He's going to look fine, but he might blow up at the end of the game. You never know. So, interesting that they chose to fire him now. But with that being said, that does create an opening in the NFL for a new head coach. And that's where we have to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs and where they could be in a place to lose their defensive coordinator, Coach Spags, Steve Spagnuolo. He is a very, very, very prime candidate for the New York Giants as immediately, once Brian Daboll was fired, there were lists that, of course, started to come out. There were reasonings about, well, why they should hire this guy or why they shouldn't hire this guy or this or that. The one name that came up in about every single list I saw and honestly flooded into Chiefs Twitter a little bit was Steve Spagnuolo being the next head coach of the New York Giants. And there's a couple of reasons behind this, but the main one is because technically this would not be his first stint as the New York Giants head coach. In fact, back in 2017, he was the interim head coach for New York before he joined the Chiefs in 2018. As we kind of look at his coaching career here, you can see on that right-hand side, he has been with so many different teams. So obviously, like, oh, well, if the Eagles have somebody, but the Giants stand out for a multitude of reasons. He was the DC back in 07 and 09. That led to a head coaching position in St. Louis with the Rams. Didn't go the way he wanted to, went back to being a DC for the Saints, was a senior defensive assistant for the Ravens, a secondary coach for the Ravens, worked his way back up to a DC, got a job with the New York Giants in 2015. And then in 2017, he was labeled as the interim head coach. Ultimately, that position did not stand. And then in 2019, he, of course, was hired to be the defensive coordinator here in Kansas City. And he has done a fantastic job. I mean, the Chiefs have never had this like top tier, upper echelon defense whatsoever. But Coach Spags' systems, Coach Spags' schemes, they've been fantastic and have substantially changed the way that Kansas City is looked at with their defense and the way that people actually view them. And so Coach Spags, I think, is such a tremendous part. And in a lot of ways, this is not the first time we've heard about head coaching rumors in regards to Spagnuolo. So that's one thing to take into account is that just because he is the top name does not mean he's going to go through the interview process, be the top candidate, obviously, and be hired right away. And he's going to say, yeah, I'm going to take that head coaching job. Like, he knows what it takes to be a head coach of the NFL. He's done it as a full-time head coach with the St. Louis Rams. Obviously, we know they're Los Angeles now. And then, of course, he's done it as an interim level with the New York Giants. It is a heavy, heavy job. Now, when you take a head coaching job, most of the time your NFL career is sealed where you will probably, no matter what, be coaching in the NFL, whether it's a DC or something, unless you absolutely just bomb. There also has to be some thought into Coach Spags and what he wants really in his life. And so that's kind of where we have to go and look at some of his history. And he is from Massachusetts. And so I am a little concerned to say that this is a team that is closer to home. This is a team that he has had tons and tons and tons of experience with. And at the end of the day, he is 65 years old. Time is not slowing down for him anytime soon. And this potentially could be his final shot if offered to go out there and get a head coaching job. And for Kansas City, I feel like this would be one of the bigger losses you could have. However, it is something to look at and know that the Kansas City Chiefs defense has never been this elite tier one. And this year they've done fantastic things, but you still just don't look at them and say elite tier. And in a lot of ways, this offseason, with the money that you are trying to allocate to certain players and free agents that we've talked about on the show, and thinking, okay, do you really have the money for all that? What exactly is the plan? There could be a potential total rehaul of this defense. I mean, think about Jalen Watson, the cornerback room that you like, but you're going to lose some guys there. Jack Cochran's a free agent. Leo Chenal is a free agent. There's a bunch of different guys on that defensive side that you want to sign back, but right now that cap space is in a very bad position for you. And so if Coach Spags is gone, that just creates for another problem and would really, really concern me to look at the defense next season. And it's for a multitude of different reasons. It's not just Coach Spags leaving, because DCs are ultimately not that crazy to find. And in a lot of ways, I would find it intriguing. I know that Daboll is more of an offensive head coach, but hire him as a DC. I don't think he did terrible there. But either way, there's a lot of DCs, and if it does ultimately happen, we'll of course come on here and talk about, first of all, the ramifications and who the Chiefs could go out there and get. But right now, it's all just speculation. I don't want to try and worry anybody too much. And ultimately, if you look at Coach Spags, he's obviously focused at the task at hand. He talked about the upcoming game against the Denver Broncos and was asked about where his defense is right now. And he said that, quote, "I don't think we've played our best football. Everybody needs to step up. It's that time of year." And so good to see that he is obviously in that mindset. He'll still here. And as you would expect, I mean, even if the Giants are seriously looking at him as a head coach candidate, even if the Giants are seriously considering him to be their next head coach, that will not happen until the end of the season. If not past the playoffs, past the point that the Chiefs are eliminated from the playoffs or go on and win the Super Bowl, which I would appreciate that one more than most. But I do find it intriguing how quickly his name rose to the top of the list. And, it makes sense. The history's there. He grew up in the area in some aspects. And I would not be shocked, let's say, if, come the end of playoffs or whatever happens in the postseason, that you end up losing Coach Spags, and that does become something that you have to worry about in the offseason. But this is not something that we have to worry about just now. Just wanted to throw this out there, discuss with you why Coach Spags is an obvious choice for the Giants, why he has been a part of so many head coaching searches in the past, and this one could be the one that finally sticks. I mean, going back to 2023 and the defense the Chiefs had that really honestly kept them in the games at a lot of times. I mean, 2023, that offense was great, but they really could not catch the ball. And so the defense is what held them firm last year. Obviously, being 15-2, you got to have a good defense this year. I think Coach Spag said it best that they just haven't played their best yet. I mean, they have the talent there that just hasn't all come together in the right light. In my mind, this is the week to do so, and I'll kind of explain to you in the must-win segment where we talk about why this game could or could not be a must-win, and talk about some ways the Chiefs can really, really make this a good possibility for them to win, some coaching decisions that I think would be good for them. But yeah, no need to worry about it just now, and that's something we can worry about in the future. Do want to talk about the Chiefs injury report and kind of look at what the updates are in that light. So got both injury reports here. Got some comments from Andy Reid as well. Going to go through these. We'll go through the comments of Andy Reid in just a moment as well, and kind of talk and break down each and every single one of these. The first and the obvious one is Isaiah Pacheco. He did not practice with his MCL knee injury. I do not think he will play this week when you have two do not participates with that MCL injury. We'll see if he participates today. I think it's highly unlikely situation that he does. But even if he is a limited participant, I still don't see him being this top tier guy ready to go. And unfortunately, that's what you need at your running back. You need a top tier guy, and Pacheco can be that guy. But while injured, you can't rely on that. Xavier Worthy was added as a limited participant yesterday. Do want to keep an eye on that today. Early reports are that he is out there at practice and just don't know what capacity. Again, it could be a limited participant again. We don't really know. George Karlaftis was a limited participant 2 days in a row with a thumb injury. That defensive line has been so injured throughout this season. And again, you look at the injuries to Omar Norman-Lott, and then, of course, Brett Veach not making a move at the trade deadline for anybody. That defensive line, especially defensive edge rushing unit, does need to be pretty healthy, and George Karlaftis is a huge part of that. Trey Smith and Josh Simmons both on there for reasons that are not going to affect them in the game. Trey Smith is his back injury that he has continuously dealt with throughout the entire season at this point, but he's been a full participant for both days of practice. Josh Simmons is only on here because he missed the past 5 weeks. It's looking like he will play this week, especially given that there is some banged up Jawan Taylor injury news right there with a knee and ankle. He is a full participant. He should play, but I think in the way that this offensive line is looking, even though coming off a bye, they're still relatively injured. You want to make sure you have everybody you possibly can have out there on the field. Charles Omenihu, again, defensive end, really want to have that defensive line group in a positive spot. Full participant both practices, but do want to watch out with that ankle injury. And Jane Hicks, the safety with a pectoral injury, full participant both days. Pretty much his injury, to my knowledge, is just the Chiefs doing their due diligence and knowing that they have to report every single injury, no matter what the situation is. As for the Broncos, do want to look at some of their injuries as well, because there are some huge ones in here. The first and the biggest one is J.K. Dobbins. Now, they do have R.J. Harvey. R.J. Harvey is a very good rookie running back and one of the most underrated guys on the Broncos team, in my opinion. But with J.K. Dobbins out with a foot injury, potentially did not participate in both days of practice. We'll see what he does today. That would be a huge thing. Their tight end, Nate Adkins, and one of the tight ends did not participate 2 days in a row. That's something to watch out for. But again, their linebackers are also really injured. Their outside linebacker and their inside linebacker, Alex Singleton and Jonah Ellis, both injured. Alex Singleton is an illness injury where he did not participate. I don't think that's going to keep them out of the game, even if he is just a limited participant. The illness does seem to be, something they can get back from. Obviously, it just depends how long that illness lasts and what it actually is there. When you get illness reports on these injury things, it really is kind of odd because they can give you some information, but ultimately you never really know what's going on with the player. So he could play, he could not. I would bet he would be at least a questionable status. But Jonah Ellis with a hamstring injury did not practice 2 days in a row. I think he will probably not be playing. Pat Surtain, big one there. Did not participate with a pectoral injury Wednesday or Thursday. Again, we're going to get our statuses all today. So make sure you're keeping up on Chiefs and Broncos Twitter, because that is a huge, huge thing to look at, especially with Pat Surtain. We know kind of how important he is. John Franklin Myers, defensive line, he has back injury as the participant. Shouldn't be worried about him. Trent Sherfield, a wide receiver, doesn't really play much, but he's a big part of their game plan. Did not participate on Wednesday. He was a full participant on Thursday. And then Marvin Mims, Jonathan Cooper, and Garrett Wallow all were full participants both Wednesday and Thursday, but they are on the injury report for their reasons. Marvin Mims has been in concussion protocol. He is good to go, though. It looks like, same can be said, Jonathan Cooper, he got a thumb injury, full participant both days, and then a hamstring injury for Garrett Wallow on the linebacker slot. So pretty injured Broncos team, and not just lower level guys. Like J.K. Dobbins, a huge part of their game. Pat Surtain, obviously a huge part of the game. Marvin Mims has been labeled as the key factor for this team into the Kansas City game. So lots of intriguing things. We do have some notes on a couple of these injuries we're going to go through here in just a moment. However, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back and give you those notes from Andy Reid and kind of the latest on a couple of these guys and really dive deep into these injury updates. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back here on the Chiefs Report.
Shades is your trusted partner in stage lighting, offering a wide range of high-quality, innovative products since 2015. With designs that cater to all needs, fast delivery, and affordable prices, we provide exceptional customer service to ensure your satisfaction. With warehouses across the globe and sales in over 100 countries, Sheds is quickly becoming one of the most recognized names in the stage lighting industry. Visit shehds.com today to discover top-tier stage lighting solutions and become part of our global network.
Introducing Muck-Off's classic pink bike cleaner, powered by revolutionary nanotechnology that breaks down dirt and grime on a microscopic level while protecting your bike's delicate finish. Developed by our mad developer Alex and tested by riders, our products are made by riders for riders. Discover more at us.muc-off.com, where we break the mold to bring you the best in bike care.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels, our rebounders improve accuracy, control, and technique in both sports. Built with premium materials for durability and ease of use, they're ideal for training anywhere, anytime. Whether you're perfecting your soccer game or sharpening your lacrosse skills, Open Goal USA has you covered. Visit OpenGoallusa.com and elevate your training today.
Chapellex is a full-category shapewear brand dedicated to providing women with exceptional comfort and support. We offer thoughtfully designed solutions that blend style with functionality, empowering women to feel confident and at ease every day. Chapellex is redefining what it means to have a perfect body. Our mission celebrates body positivity, embracing every shape and size, because true beauty lies in authenticity. Visit shapellx.com today and join a movement towards self-love, acceptance, and confidence.
Indulge in Blum's luxurious Lotus Flower Rolls. The green Lotus Roll bursts with a caramel apple flavor, while the blue Lotus Roll offers a smooth berry cream sensation. With our Crush for Flavor technology, enjoy an instant burst of natural, intense flavor anytime you desire. Elevate your experience with the finest creations nature has to offer. Explore the full collection at blumleaf.com. That's BLUUMLEAF.com. Blumleaf. Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. At Terrapin Ridge Farms, they believe in the joy of effortless entertaining. Inspired by CEO Mary O'Donnell's mom and her legendary holiday parties, they've crafted a line of gourmet foods that turn any meal into a celebration. From savory jams to mustards, aiolis, and more, their products are made with love, bringing unforgettable flavors to your table. Whether it's a casual get-together or a special occasion, they make it easy to impress. Terrapin Ridge Farms, where great food and great memories come together. Visit them at terrapinridge.com. Terrapin Ridge.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious. Find your blend at hempdelicious.com.
Welcome back in here to the Chiefs Report. We're talking about injury reports and statuses for some certain players. Just kind of went through the basics of everything, but do want to go into some extra notes on these injury reports and really discuss what exactly is going on with some of these players. We'll kind of start here with Xavier Worthy. So, as I mentioned, the reports out of the practice today is that he is there. We do not know to what capacity just yet because the injury report comes out a little later. However, he was added as a limited participant on Thursday practice, along with George Karlaftis, both limited Wednesday and Thursday there. So intriguing kind of with that aspect. And then Andy Reid implied this on Monday, but running back Isaiah Pacheco, unable to practice. He didn't participate, and he will most likely miss Sunday's game. In terms of every other Kansas City Chiefs player who was on the injury report, all full participants, Josh Simmons, Jawan Taylor, both full participants with some personal reasons for Josh Simmons, obviously coming back from the Let's call it personal hiatus, and then Jawan Taylor with his knee and ankle injury. 3 Broncos stars, though, are injured. We got Pat Surtain with a pectoral injury, running back J.K. Dobbins, and Alex Singleton as their starting inside linebacker. All did not participate on Wednesday and Thursday. Neither Surtain or Singleton are expected to play against the Chiefs. And, of course, Dobbins, I mentioned, he's probably not expected to play either. But it's not just that for the Denver Broncos. He could be heading to IR. And so that is something to watch out for, as huge as a guy he is. Obviously, injuries, never wish them upon him. However, they are part of football. And if the Broncos were to lose this game and then potentially go on lose some more without J.K. Dobbins, it would really help the Chiefs for sure. 2 other players did not participate for the Denver Broncos as right tight end, or reserve tight end Nate Adkins, who already missed 2 games, and then outside linebacker Jonathan Ellis has missed. He missed Thursday matchup. He probably won't play this game. Everybody else for the Denver Broncos is a full good to go, it sounds like, in all aspects. So that is something to watch for. But that's kind of the latest on all the injury reports for both the Chiefs and the Broncos. Just something to watch out for on both sides of the ball in that aspect. Definitely gives the advantage to the Chiefs for a couple different reasons in that light. However, that's where I kind of want to transition into the final topic here today. Is this a must-win game for Kansas City? Like, if the Kansas City Chiefs, let's say they go out, they lose this game, a 5-4 team, you're 1-3 away, and then you are now facing a 5-0 team at home, 8-2 overall. You lose this game. Does that kind of put an end to your season in some aspect? Does it put an end to hopes of Super Bowl aspirations? And I think the simple answer is no. And it's because you have a very simple schedule down the stretch past the Broncos and the Colts. Now, what I do think happens if you lose is the Colts game becomes a must-win game. And I don't want to say that, oh, well, if they win that game or they lose that, must win after that. Like, no, not every game from here on out is a must-win. However, this one is close as you could be to it. And then for Indianapolis next week, if you lose this game against the Broncos, that becomes a must-win game for a multitude of reasons. The first and the biggest is that would put you at a below 500 record. Yes, you would have a decent schedule on the stretch, but you would also face Los Angeles and Denver, where let's say you lose these 2 games and you lose to Los Angeles and Denver again. At that point, if you're 5-4 right now, you're adding 4 losses. You got 8 losses there. I mean, yeah, you're going to have a positive record when it's all said and done at 9-8, but that really does put you in a tough spot for the playoffs. And even if you are in the playoffs, you're going to be facing on the road a top-tier team, Patriots, Broncos, Colts, whatever that ends up being in the AFC. So, no, in short, this is not a must-win game. But again, when we look at this playoff picture, when we look at this game for Kansas City and for Denver, it does kind of change the outlook of their seasons. Now, New England last night winning, they're 9-2, so technically right now they are above the other 2 8-2 teams because, well, they haven't played yet. Indianapolis 8-2. Again, let's kind of look into these schedules as to say if they're done. Obviously, they play Kansas City and they have a bye week this week, but their schedule not too tough after this. Houston's not a bad team, but they're not a good team. Jacksonville just got beat by Houston. Seattle's a pretty good team. San Francisco, they are so up and down. I can't predict them anymore. And, whatever quarterback plays. And then they play Jacksonville and Houston again. Like, there's a legitimate possibility here that the Indianapolis Colts, even if you beat them, could still finish with just 3 losses on the season or 4 losses on the season. Like, that is something to watch out for. So the 1 seed in that aspect is a tough loss there. But also you got to look at some other teams in front of you. The Chargers, who do they have left? And kind of looking at their schedule, you can see they played Jacksonville this week. Then we saw they lost to Houston last week. Las Vegas is not a good team. Then they play Philadelphia and you, so that's big 2 games. Dallas is an okay team, in Houston and Denver. So there's just some of these teams ahead of you that have similar easiness in their schedule or maybe easier schedules than you. And so when you think about the games at hand in Denver and in Indianapolis, in terms of must win, if you're like saying, oh, if they lose this game, they're out of the playoff race. That's not true. Not true. It does put them in a severe disadvantage, and they kind of put themselves in their own light just because of the games they've lost previously, especially looking back to that Jacksonville Jaguars game. I think this season would be severely different if that game had gone a different way. but also it just puts you in a bad spot mentally because then you are only having that one win on the road still. You continuously can't win on the road. That's a divisional opponent you just lost to, who is going to be without J.K. Dobbins, Pat Surtain, and a linebacker in Alex Singleton. Like, that is 3 players that they are going to be without. Yes, you're without Isaiah Pacheco, but I would argue that those 3 players have way more of an impact on the Broncos than Pacheco has on our team, especially given the season he's having. It's not a knock on Pacheco. It's just that the running game hasn't been it for Kansas City, and we talked about that at the trade deadline. And Brett Veach, quote unquote, tried to make the trade for Breece Hall, offering that 4th round pick. I think a 3rd round pick is what the Jets wanted. And if it were me, I'd say, sure, take it. I want Breece Hall to try and fix this team. And ultimately, he didn't do that. And so this game on Sunday, he didn't make any trades. The Broncos didn't really do too much either. So I guess there's that. But it's a intriguing game for both sides because, I've talked so much about the Broncos this week, and you kind of just look at this game and you look at almost too much. But I still do believe with my whole heart that Denver, in a lot of ways, could easily be in the Chiefs' position. They have won so many one-score games. They have come back from deficits that most teams simply can't come back from, which, again, credit to them, but still, it's just while they were able to do that. So I almost want to say, is this a must-win game for the Chiefs? No, but for the Broncos, I think it's not a must-win game, but it's a game to really seal their identity because in my opinion, especially after that Raiders win they had last Thursday, in which they won 10-7 against one of the worst teams in the NFL, they have to go out there and prove they're a good team. They got to go out there and prove that they can beat the Chiefs because they play them again later on in the season on Christmas. Like, these are some big, big games. These are some big, big teams that really need to come out here and prove that, hey, we are who we say we are. For Denver, we're finally here. We've got our quarterback. We've got Sean Payton. We've got our team. We're going to come out here, even though we might be, without Surtain and J.K. Dobbins, we're going to come out here and win. And for the Chiefs, we may be 5-4, but we're still the same Chiefs. We're still the same team that you look at and you see. We're still the same team that can come in and beat you when we want to. Obviously, the one-score losses tend to add up, and that's what they've done this year for Kansas City. But at the same time, if you're able to win out, there's a possibility for that number 1 seed. Like, people want to talk about all the Chiefs. They're 5-4. They're down and out. They're not looking great, and that's all well and good. But at the same time, they could easily flip a switch, and boom, they're going to be up and take down Denver. You take down Indianapolis. You both give them a loss on their record, and all of a sudden, you're looking at this team. You're looking at this division. You're looking at this AFC and saying, oh, well, I kind of like this. Like, with all respect to the New England Patriots, they have not played those upper tier opponents. Yeah, they beat the Bills in Orchard Park. They beat the Bucks in Tampa Bay, and on the road they're fantastic. But the rest of their record, not much to scoff at. So, obviously, I think it would be intriguing because what started the Chiefs dynasty was losing to Tom Brady and the and the Patriots in overtime. And the next year, he's made an AFC championship pretty much every year since past that. So I think it would be interesting to have those 2 teams correlate again in the playoffs at some point. But either way, that's neither here nor there. The Chiefs are still wholeheartedly in this. And is this a must-win game to keep them in playoff picture? No. Is this a must-win game to keep them at the top tier of the AFC? Yes. Yes. It really just does define on, in terms of must-win, what are we relating that towards? Are we relating that to a must-win for the AFC? Or whether it's must win for the playoffs, must win for the what does that exactly mean? And there's been statements, and this question has been asked all week for the Chiefs. And in my mind, if you're asking about at the top tier of the AFC, is this must win? Yeah, for sure. For the playoffs, no. However, if you do lose this game, in every single light of the word, the Colts are a must win game. You cannot end up at 6-5, because then probably at best, you could beat Los Angeles and Denver. I think you lose to one of them at least. So you're talking a 10-7 record at the end of the year, which could get you to the playoffs, but you want to be as certain as possible. So big game coming up on Sunday. We'll have a post game after it. Make sure you tune into that. But check out those injury reports again. Really intrigued to see what the report is for Xavier Worthy and what goes on with that. Obviously, it looks like Pat Surtain and Alex Singleton and J.K. Dobbins both going to be out for this game. All 3 going to be out for this game. Big game. Big game, guys. We'll talk about it hopefully on Sunday after a win. For now, though, that's all we got. We appreciate, again, listening, hanging out with us, tuning in all week long, and we'll see you on Sunday at about 6 o'clock. Hopefully with win. We'll see y'all later here. Peace out, guys.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.